At the time, Japan accepted the Potsdam Declaration on August 14, 1945. China has ended Japanese occupation and 8 years of brutal warfare. However, the end of World War II did not mark the end of conflict in China. Two parties fought against each other in order to get the control of rest of China. The two parties, nationalists and communists, didn't have the same ideals, which communists believe that all property in public owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. And nationalists believe, which the individual's loyalty and devotion to the nation-states surpass other individuals or group interests. These two beliefs benefit different parts of people. The communism benefits proletariat, who are workers or working class people in Chinese lower class. However, the nationalism benefits capitalists, who are very wealthy and use money to invest in trade and industry for profit in the Chinese upper class. At the time, the Big Four, which was four most wealthy families in China, were controlling the Chinese government and Chinese economy. The Chiang Kai-shek, also called Jiang Jieshi, was leading figure of the Big Four, who was also the leader of the Chinese Nationalist Party. And the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, Mao Zedong, who was a graduate student from Hunan University, formed Chinese Communist Party with some intellectuals who were outstanding young Chinese people graduated from famous university in the world, under the help from his teacher and some Russian communists. After Japan's defeat, both of the nationalists and the communists wanted to control the northern China. Nationalist troops using transportation facilities of the U.S. military were able to take over key cities and most railway lines in east and northern China. Communist troops occupied much of the hinterland in north. Because of the united front forming before the defeat of Japan, a negotiation between the nationalists and the communists might be possible. So on October 10, 1945, the two parties announced that they had reached an agreement in principle to work for a united and democratic China. A pair of committees were to be convened to address the military and political issues that had not been resolved by the initial framework agreement, but serious fighting between government and communist troops erupted before those bodies could meet. On March 12, 1946, nationalist troops occupied Shenyang, while the communists consolidated their hold of northern China. Fighting intensified elsewhere as government and communist troops clashed in Chengdu, Jiangsu, Hebei, and Shandong. In late September 1946, nationalist troops laid siege to an important communist military base. Then they started a peace talking. The two parties tried to establish a new constitution, but it still couldn't satisfy both parties' rights and interests. Finally, this negotiation was ended in failure. In the beginning of the 1947, the communists resumed their offensive in Walchania, where government troops launched major drives on communist positions in Shandong and Shanxi. And on March 19th, the nationalists won the Battle of Yan'an, which was a big hit for communists, but the communists still believed that they would achieve final victory. Indeed, Maoist strategy emphasized the importance of securing a base among the peasantry in the countryside at the expense of holding cities. At the end of 1947, nationalist military strength were at around 5 million men. However, communist troops' strength was around 1.1 million. By earlier 1948, the nationalists had lost the initiative on all major fronts. Worse, it was gradually losing its superiority on numbers, equipment, and training. As the nationalists were ever shift to the defensive, The government's strategy was to establish the situation in north by holding the full area of Changchun, Qilin, Fengtian, Qingxian through airborne resupply, to maintain important cities in the north, and to prevent communist expansion in northwest, central, and eastern China. Having destroyed or blocked the overland supply routes of the government to major centers in North China, the communists struck at weak point along the nationalist line. In north, the communists took those four main cities in months. In the middle, the communists took Luoyang on April 7 and recaptured their former capital of Yan'an on April 22. Now, communist troops' strength exceeded that of the nationalists, and the communists had captured such huge stocks of small arms, artillery, and armor that they were better equipped than the nationalists. Continuous communist offensive cut off the nationalists from the natural resources, paralyzed communication and commerce in the war zone, and intensified the financial crisis in government-held areas. Strikes, student demonstration, and labor unrest became commonplace, and black market traffic increased. In this time, the government introduced rigid price and wage controls and began enforcing harsh criminal penalties for economic crimes. People, however, noticed that those with close tie to the nationalist government avoided the supervision and inspection. So the moral of the nationalists was eroded by the corruption and price inflation. On January 21, 1949, Jiang Jieshi announced his resignation as president of China. And then on April 24th, the fall of Nanking marked the beginning of the disintegration of the nationalist government. After several small wars, the communists almost occupied the whole China, and on October 1st, 1949, Mao Zedong proclaimed the establishment of the People's Republic of China in capital Beijing. Under the pressure from the communists, on December 8th, the national capital was moved to Taipei, and the whole nationalist party escaped to Taiwan by following the Jiang Jieshi. The long Chinese Civil War was over by the end of the 1949. Hi, Grandma. I want to ask you some questions about Chinese Civil War.
Okay, let's start.
So, do you have any memory for the Chinese Civil War?
Sure, so at that time, I was around like 10 years old. In my memory, my family and I lived in the quadrangle dwelling. During that time, we used barn to store grain, and the barn was made by soil and straw, which was not solid. And I remember that two parties fighting against each other one day nearby our village. So several communist soldiers escaped in our village. The nationalist army threatened villagers to kill them if anyone kept any communist soldiers. However, they didn't find those communist soldiers, but they killed several innocent villagers. At that time, when we heard the gunshots, my family and I hid in the barn and survived, but my best friend's father was mistakenly killed by one of the nationalist soldiers.
At that time, did you hear any elders talking about the Chinese Civil War and what they were talking about?
Okay, so I remember my father and my uncle talking about the Civil War. They said that the victim of the combating between two parties were the innocent people. Actually, in every war, the most injured was innocent people. During the war, we would lose our home, died of disease, famine, or injury. We couldn't do anything or make any decision. We can only be obedient to the ruling party.
Compare the past life and the present. What kinds of difference do you feel?
Okay, so at that time, we didn't have enough food to eat and enough clothes for warmth. We lived in the house which made by the soil. The whole family slept in the single bed, which was also made by soil. And we didn't have any chance to study. Every day, we were really worried about the safety of life of ourselves. For now, We don't need to worry about any problems of food and clothing. We lived in a clean, comfortable, and spacious house, and our life is colorful. Every day, we have lots of entertainment such as watching TV, playing chess with your grandpa, and so on. You are so lucky to not live in the war era. You should really cherish this precious life.